Hello, my name's Stephen Gethens. I'm Professor of Practice at the School of International Relations, and welcome to this episode of our Scotland's Future series, the University of St Andrews podcast series. Look at some of the work that's going on at the university and some of the big issues that we're facing today. And frankly, there's no bigger issue than the one that we're going to talk about today for everybody out there, staff and students and members of the wider community, and that's the cost of living crisis. So we're going to look at the cost of living crisis, discuss what the university is doing, what some of our services are doing, what the Students' Association's doing, and I've got a really good panel in front of me today to talk about some of these issues. And thanks to you guys for coming along to the Scotland's Future Series podcast, and I'm joined by Juan Rodriguez, who's the Students' Association President, Emma Craig, who's Director of Wellbeing and Equality at the Students' Association, and also we have Dr. Fiona Whelan, who's the Assistant Director of our Student Services. So all of you, welcome. Really big issue, really important issue. But I'm wondering, before we get started into the meat of this particular issue, I'm wondering for people who are listening in, can you all talk a little bit about what you do? Juan, can you tell us a bit about who you are and what's your job?
Okay, well, I'm Juan. Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm the association president, and in this role, I am in charge of representing the student voice in front of the university and the local town government. So any student concerns that come up throughout the year, I take them to the right places so that they get treated and addressed.
Great. Emma, could you introduce yourself and just tell us a bit about the work that you're doing? Because this seems like a really important wellbeing and equality, big thing that our students are worried about. So tell us a bit about that job.
Absolutely, yes. As Director of Wellbeing and Equality, similar to Juan, I'm here to represent student opinions, student issues, and bring their voice to the right rooms, the right committees, so the university can really be connected to what students are needing. So equality can cover things like disability, BAME backgrounds, LGBT, and I oversee a lot of student groups that represent those communities and make sure that their issues are being heard.
Okay, thanks for that. Now, Fiona, you're a member of staff at the university. I'm wondering, introduce yourself, but also can you tell us a bit about what student services are doing for people who are listening in and wondering what kind of services you provide?
Absolutely. So I'm one of a number of assistant directors within student services. Each of us has slightly different remits, but mine's accessibility and inclusion. So within that, it means that I manage our team of disability advisors, our team of money advisors, but I also have a remit of looking after or looking for the interests of other groups of students. So students from care experience backgrounds, estranged backgrounds, students who might be young carers, and also our sanctuary scholars as well. But I am just one subset of student services, which is much broader than that. So we really are quite a big team that encompasses wellbeing counselling, mental health support, international advisors. We link with the health hubs to help students access GP support. And we also have out-of-hours support as well to support students, when we're closed in the daytime as well. So we are quite a big team and provide a lot of different services for students, but also work very closely with the Students' Association to try and address issues as is when they come up, like the cost of living crisis.
Cost of living crisis. So a lot of stuff going on both at the Students' Association and in student services as well. And what we'll do is we'll put up some links as part of this podcast as well for anybody who wants to find out a bit more information. Fiona, I just want to build on what you've said before I come back to Emma and Juan. Can you tell us about, you mentioned there the cost of living crisis. What kind of issues are you finding are being brought to you, not just by students, but also by staff members and members of the wider community who are being impacted by the cost of living crisis?
Absolutely, and obviously we see the issues that are affecting the students, but as you say, it is broader than that, and so similar things students are feeling, members of the public are feeling, staff are feeling, members of our community as well. So the main one at the moment is concerns about energy bills, and they're already increasing, they're going to continue to increase, and I think a real sense of uncertainty about what early next year is going to look like. And so disposable income is just not there anymore. And one of the things that really struck me at one of the open days that I was helping out was a mum who was asking about part-time work for her son who was about to come and join St Andrews and what options would be available for him, because even in the summer of 2022, she had ring-fenced £200 a month to be able to give to him for his living expenses. and that was already gone because the energy bills were eating into it.
Wow. Okay.
So that's quite acute. Mortgage interest rates, so people are paying more for their mortgages. So I think what we're seeing is a lot of students, for what they've budgeted based on their own income, what their families have been able to support them with, it's not there anymore.
Yeah, okay. And Emma, Juan, are you seeing that? I'll come to you first, Emma. Are you seeing similar challenges at the Students' Association in your day-to-day work? Can you give us an idea about some of the challenges that are being faced?
Yeah, absolutely. With students struggling with finances and being able to budget their money, it definitely affects their ability to engage with student activities and events and just be part of the student community. I think we're really looking into ways to subsidize event costs and make all of our activities in the Students' Association more accessible, working with societies, sports clubs, subcommittees, so that students can engage and enjoy student activities free of charge, maybe come and find a warm space, find some free food, and find community where they might not want to be at home and turn on the heating, or they might not want to spend money to make a meal. And a lot of that also is helpful to have the money advisors at Student Services to help students with their budgeting. And I know Fiona's got some stuff going on there.
And that's money advisors who are available at Student Services. Okay, I want you to hold that thought, and I'd like to come back to that in a minute when we talk about some of the practical things. I'll come to you and Emma, Fiona, but Juan, just building on Emma and Fiona have laid out a number of the issues, food and drink costs, energy costs, heating, we even touched upon those who have got mortgages, mortgage costs, and a whole range of others. If somebody wants to come to the Students' Association or Student Services, Juan, what kind of services are there? What kind of help's there?
I think that one of the things that we have here in the Students' Association that's very handy is the Help Hub, and also the advice that different members of our subcommittees can provide for students.
Yep.
So if they email either the Help Hub or the subcommittees, or they come into the building, they look for us, we'll be able to provide advice on what is their concern.
Okay. What's the email address?
So helphub@sc/andrews.ac.uk.
Okay. We'll make all this available, but just for people who are listening
Yes.
and on their phones. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
And then I guess I wouldn't list all the mails of all the subcommittees that
That's
they have.
fine.
So we can just link them in the podcast, I think.
But everything's on your website.
It is on the website. If they visit the website, yourunion.com.uk.
.net.
Okay.
Under representation, and
Under
you can find the subcommittees
representation.
and our officers who are elected students to represent you on these issues, whatever they may be.
Fantastic. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that, Emma? Just some of the work that you're doing and some of the other help. We're not going to be able to cover all the help that's out there, but just some of that other help, money advice, really important, but actually some of the practical help that's available as well.
Yeah, well, by the time you're listening to this podcast, we'll have released a cost of living guide, which myself and colleagues from the Cost of Living Task Force, which is a group of student reps and staff from the university, have been putting together, mainly piloted by Holly McDonald from the Student Association. She's the Wellbeing Equality Coordinator, and she's put together a really comprehensive document, and it has information from students of various backgrounds and members of the community as well, like Fiona mentioned. So specifically students who are carers, students who are parents, students who are part-time, students who are living in other areas beyond St. Andrews, like Dundee and other areas in Fife. There are very specific resources tailored to them. There's a lot of information to help students understand their finances, their student finance, their student loans, different options for bank accounts, different options for energy providers, and those sort of things. So it is a very practical guidance type resource, and it does signpost to pretty much everything that we could mention in this podcast and more, including student services, online mental health support resources, and the relevant representatives in the Students Association that you might want to contact if you would like, things to be changed or your voice to be heard.
Tell me the name of that guide again.
Cost of Living Resource Guide, it should be, and it should be under
Cost of Living Resource Guide.
Yes, the support pages on the union website. It should be
fantastic. Go have a look. Now, Students Association's doing some amazing work. Really grateful to you guys and your colleagues for the work that you're doing. But Fiona, there's also the help available at Student Services that complements that. Can you tell us a little bit about the services that you're offering and some of the practical help that you're offering as well for anybody who's listening?
Absolutely. So within our money advice team, we've got 3 money advisors who have kind of dual roles. So one is they're in the fortunate position to be able to disperse money to students who are in financial need. So we have a number of discretionary funds that are available to students, both home students, international students. And I would just encourage anyone to go and have a look at the web pages. Again, we can provide links, and to put in an application if you are feeling like you're struggling, or to get in touch if you think that you might struggle in the future. The other thing that we try to do is not just assess kind of individual applications, but really try and support students with budgeting, with advice, ways to minimize bills, to maximize the funds that they have. And we really do try and look holistically at the student. So it's also about, social costs. We want to make sure that students have enough to be able to get involved in social activities and not feel that they have to miss out going out for dinner with their friends or going to the cinema because of those costs incurred. And the other thing that we're about to do that we're very excited about is we've pinched an idea from another university where they have student money mentors, so effectively interns.
Yep.
And what we're hoping is we are, I think, going to interview next week, and they will kind of help bridge what we're trying to do and communicate with the students. So hopefully look at different transitions. And for this intern, the real focus is the transition from halls of residence into private accommodation,
yep,
and really supporting students with that transition and all the additional costs associated there.
That's great. Can you talk to me a little bit about staff members as well? Because obviously the cost of living will have wider implications as well. What are some of the services that you offer to staff members who are listening? Obviously the support for students is important, but there is also a lot of help out there for members of staff as well, isn't there?
There is, absolutely. So within student services, the money advice team that we have is for students, but they certainly input into wider initiatives that are designed to support not just students, but staff, and we've talked about the wider community as well. So within the cost of living task force, for example, I think there will be a dedicated webpage that's going to have a lot of resources there for staff, and a lot of the resources in the guide that Emma's been discussing is as relevant for students and staff and members of the community to link to. And of course, there's support available through HR, through line managers for any concerns that anyone is having. And I think the other thing to say is, the impact that the cost of living crisis will have financially will also have an impact on people's well-being and their mental health. And we see that link very acutely. So just a reminder that, we have well-being, counselling and mental health support in student services. We've got occupational health, you've got line managers. So it's about reaching out for support that you need.
Okay. Juan, food and drink, transport. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I think that picking specifically on transportation, it has been one of the main concerns that have been talked about with me from postgraduate students, from people living in Dundee and other towns around St Andrews. And I think that it is very good that the university was very keen to listen to this and take action upon this to be able to make transport more accessible to students and talk with Stagecoach to find ways around this.
And there is an initiative to help people out with their transport costs.
Yes,
and we'll provide some links underneath this podcast as well. But is there anywhere else that you can find some of this direct information in the Students' Association?
I believe that if you go also on the cost of living site in our webpage, you'll be able to find this information.
Great. Is it all going to be there, Emma?
Yes, it should be in the cost of living guide. You can get free bus travel in Scotland if you are under 22, which is an amazing system from the Young
Or over
Scot
60.
Card. I think that is true, yes.
Yep.
And there's also disability travel. If you have a disability, you might be able to access that free travel as well if you are over 22, or 22 or over, sorry. Once I turned 22, I didn't get that anymore. But the university is also, subsidizing travel costs. And the university has introduced a night bus to Dundee because we have such a greater population of students living in our Dundee halls of residence this year.
And not everybody lives, I know this from my own experiences, from across Fife and into Tayside as well. We've got people. So please have a look at these links. Just to wrap up, I'm going to go in the reverse option. Fiona, really tough time, cost of living. Thank you for everything that you and your colleagues are doing. People are listening. What's the message that you want them to take away from this?
Reach out to us. If you're struggling or if you're concerned about the future, come and have a conversation with us. We absolutely can help students when they are in financial crisis, but we really want to be able to get ahead of that as much as possible, knowing what's kind of potentially coming over the next 12 to 18 months. So if there's any concerns, please reach out to us, but also look out for more outreach and proactive work from us, and also for our money mentor.
Great work. Emma, anything you want to add?
One thing I would just want to say to students is that we are listening, and there's so much going on behind the scenes that you might not have seen yet, but I promise all the different issues about the cost of living crisis that you've raised with us or the university is being worked on. We're looking into issues around postgraduate research funding. We're looking into better social activities for students living outside of St. Andrews. We're looking into providing extra warm spaces outside of regular hours for our buildings. We're looking into community kitchen availability, that sort of thing. So we are really trying to find all the possible options that we can, and I promise we're working really hard. And you can always reach out to us as the SABs or your other student representatives, like even the Lifers officer is a very relevant one for commuter students. So
Thank you. Juan?
I guess that's hammer on again the point of reaching out if you have any points of concern. As I mentioned, we do listen and we do take action on this. So any concern that you may have, send an email, come to our offices and visit, and we'll be able to take that to the right place.
Okay, well, look, first of all, thanks to you for joining us. Thanks to you and all your colleagues across the university for all the help. We're putting information down here. The cost of living crisis affects everybody. It affects students, as we've heard today. It affects some staff members. It affects members of the wider community. There are some links on our website, but please, we've got these great people who are here to help. Please reach out, have a chat, and there'll be somebody there to have a listen and point you in the right direction for help if you need it.